The stars shimmered above the blue-green planet, unremarkable at first glance, spinning quietly in the vast dark. From high orbit, the Jaron vessel, a sleek obsidian crescent, held its position in silence. Inside, the command bridge buzzed with the hushed efficiency of a civilization that had conquered 10,000 worlds. The crew studied Earth's surface through shimmering holographic overlays, processing data with idle disdain. Primitive, Commander Vale Trinzek muttered, his twin pupils narrowing. Fragmented governments, internal conflict, fossil fuels. He scoffed. How did they even survive their planetary adolescence? The analysts murmured agreement. To the Zerans, who had long since unified under a technocratic council, Earth was nothing more than an underdeveloped biosphere. Fertile but foolish, the data scrolls projected scenes of human behavior. Tribal warfare masquerading as politics, carbon-choked skies, glowing screens delivering noise in place of thought. There was intelligence, yes, but directionless, emotionally volatile, dangerous, yet laughable. And yet, Earth was not on the standard exploration manifest. It had been hidden, shielded, until a recent cosmic disturbance triggered long-range sensors. That anomaly alone warranted investigation. "Commander," came a voice from the rear deck. "We've located the signal. It's centered in the Quirixian tropics, what locals call the Amazon basin." Vale turned sharply. The jungle? A structure. Buried. Massive. Emits intermittent pulses. Patterned. Intelligent. The words snapped the bridge to attention. In moments, the Jaron descent craft had pierced the atmosphere, streaking over continents in a controlled silence no human could detect. It descended into the thick canopy, scanners cutting through foliage and stone to reveal an immense subterranean form, unmistakably artificial. A vessel, a ship far older than any civilization on Earth claimed to be. Outside, heat and humidity pressed against their exosuits as they stepped into the jungle. The Jaron team moved like shadows, their tools slicing roots and stone alike. Beneath layers of earth, they uncovered polished alloy plating, resistant even to plasma. Glyphs ran across it in sweeping lines, neither Jaron nor any known dialect. "This technology," whispered First Engineer Elcor, tracing a glyph with gloved fingers, "it predates our empire by millennia." "And it's human," Vale said quietly. The DNA-laced air samples confirmed it. Whatever lay dormant here, it had been built by humans, or something astonishingly close. The unease was new, and it unsettled the commander more than he admitted. Further excavation revealed a triangular gateway, embedded into the ship's hull. Its surface shimmered faintly. At the center, a hand-shaped recess pulsed with faint cyan light. "Biometric lock," Elcor said, "but not for us." Vale frowned. "We need a native." The crew exchanged glances. To admit their tools were insufficient was bad enough. To admit they needed help from the so-called primitives was a quiet disgrace. Still, within hours, Earth's government networks were breached. One name surfaced repeatedly in lost research, dead forums, and obscure university digests. Dr. Lara Miles, a linguist, archaeologist, and dismissed conspiracy theorist. She stood at the edge of the jungle now, sweat beading on her brow, surrounded by creatures out of her wildest dreams. The Zerans had picked her up in silence, dropped her here with no explanations. Her worn boots sank into the soil as she stared at the alien commander with a mix of awe and defiance. "So," she said, pushing a strand of auburn hair from her face, "you found something you can't open." Vale's expression didn't change. "We retrieved you because your language analysis indicates a 92% match to the glyphic patterns. That is all." "Nice to feel wanted," Ilera replied dryly. They led her to the interface. She studied the symbols for nearly an hour, muttering to herself, sometimes laughing. To the Zerans, she looked unstable. To Ilera, everything suddenly made sense. "This isn't a language," she finally said. "It's a memory code, a kind of song. It's not meant to be read, it's meant to be felt." She stepped forward and placed her palm into the glowing recess. Nothing happened. Then the earth shook. Around them, trees bent back. Soil cracked. Light burst along the glyphs in every direction, like veins awakening. The jungle screamed with birds and beasts fleeing. The ship? No. The colossus beneath, grown like a living thing returning from death. The Zarin stepped back instinctively. The interface flared bright. From the ship came a low hum, like a voice warming up. Genetic match confirmed. Memory stream restored. Illyra's knees buckled as a surge of images struck her mind. Stars, wars, a civilization rising and burning and rising again. Planets with names she knew, but had never spoken. The ship was alive, and it remembered her, or someone like her. "Welcome back, Commander," the voice intoned. She collapsed to her knees, gasping, What is this?" Vale stared at her, unmoving. His face was unreadable, but his voice trembled faintly. "You activated it." Illyra looked up at him. "We didn't build pyramids to worship gods," she whispered. "We built them to remember the stars." Above them, the canopy was splitting as metallic spires pushed upward through the earth. Something immense was rising, and for the first time in 1,000 years, Earth stirred awake. And far above, orbiting quietly in darkness, other signals began to blink. The jungle had fallen silent, as if the awakening ship had stolen even the breath of nature itself. Smoke like mist curled along the jungle floor, while faint blue light pulsed from deep within the structure's hull, alive, alert, and watching. The Zarins formed a perimeter around the activation site, weapons half-drawn, unsure of what stirred beneath their boots were marvel or threat. Dr. Illyra Miles sat on a slab of dark alloy, her breathing shallow. She had not spoken since the ship addressed her, not as a stranger, but as someone it recognized. The echo of those words still rang in her skull. "Welcome back, Commander." She wasn't a soldier nor a leader, just an academic tossed between universities and dismissed by colleagues for her insistence that humanity had a forgotten past. And yet, the ship had known her. Vale stood nearby, arms behind his back, his silver-black uniform immaculate despite the chaos. He watched her, searching for deception. "You felt something," he said at last, "when you touched the interface." "It showed me things," Illyra whispered. Her voice had a new edge, an uneasy awe, not just visuals. Emotions, memories that weren't mine, like someone uploaded a piece of their soul into my head. "Explain," Vale demanded, but not unkindly. Illyra turned to him, eyes haunted. It remembered Earth before the ice, before recorded history. We had ships like this, cities in orbit. We weren't primitive. We forgot. The Jaron crew stirred, discomfort flickering in their posture. Such claims challenged the foundational beliefs of their civilization. To them, humanity had barely clawed its way out of the mud. The notion that Earth's species might have once rivaled the stars felt like heresy. Elcor stepped forward, holding a tablet with pulsing schematics. "Commander, the ship is drawing energy from a geothermic well. Core systems are coming online. But here's the anomaly. Its interface protocols are not Jaron compatible. It was made for her species." Vale's jaw tightened. "You're saying we can't control it." "I'm saying she already is," Elcor said quietly. Illyra stood shakily, eyes still distant. "It's not just a ship," she said. "It called itself Arc-1. It was designed to protect knowledge, to survive the collapse of something it called a celestial accord. Humanity built it to preserve what we lost." Vale considered this. "Your civilization destroyed itself." "No," Illyra said slowly. "It was dismantled, deliberately, memory erased, technology buried, as if someone or something wanted us to forget what we were." Silence spread like a stain. The implications rippled through every mind present. If humanity had once ruled the stars and been forcibly reduced, then Earth was not a backward planet. It was a prison, and the humans within were amnesiacs. "Why now?" Vale asked. "Why did the ship awaken?" "Because I asked it to," Illyra replied, voice steadier now. "Because the signal that brought you here also reactivated deep systems. The ship has protocols. It waited for a genetic match. Someone with the right code in their blood. And what does it want?" "I think it wants to finish what it started," she said. "And it remembers everything." Alarms blinked across Jaron visors. From the ship's flank, massive plating began to rise like the petals of a mechanical flower. panels aligned, glowing runes flowing across their surface. A central tower extended, splitting the sky with light. The Ark was communicating, broadcasting across subspace. What is it signaling? Vale asked sharply. We're intercepting partial data. Elcor responded. Star map fragments. Beacon tones. Possibly coordinates. To what? Alara looked up. Her voice, when she answered, held certainty she didn't yet understand. To the other arcs. The idea struck like thunder. One ship was a revelation. Multiple could change the galactic balance. If Earth housed remnants of a forgotten empire, then the Jaron monopoly on technology, trade, and history would fracture. Vale took a step closer. You must understand what you've done. If your people aren't ready, no one's ever ready. Alara snapped. You call us primitive because we fight and stumble and fail. But that's what surviving looks like when your past has been burned. We didn't build this ship with spears and fire. We built it when we could touch stars, and we will again. Vale studied her in silence. The arrogance was gone. She didn't posture like the empires he knew, didn't seek to dominate. There was pain in her voice, but also determination, a survivor's will. You speak of reawakening your legacy, he said carefully. But once awakened, power spreads. You may not control what follows. I don't intend to control it, she said. I intend to understand it. That's the difference. Above them, the Ark's beacon flared a final pulse into the sky. A brief silence followed. Then return signals. Faint, distant, but real. Something ancient stirred beyond Earth's reach. And it had heard the call. Vale turned to his crew. Begin ship-wide translation. Prepare for interstellar relay. We need to know who's listening. Alara exhaled slowly. The world she knew had ended the moment her hand touched that ship. In its place was a truth far more dangerous and far more hopeful than she'd ever dared imagine. They had called humanity primitive. They were about to see just how wrong they were. The Ark's interior pulsed with dormant life, like a heart rediscovering its rhythm. Vast corridors lit themselves one by one as Alara stepped deeper into the ship, guided by a soft blue thread of light that responded to her presence. The air felt breathable, charged with faint hum she felt more than heard. She wasn't walking through technology. She was walking through memory. A circular chamber opened before her, its ceiling stretching upward like a cathedral. In its center flowed a crystalline structure, angular, faceted, and pulsing faintly. As she approached, the lights dimmed and a voice, calmer this time, echoed from the walls. Neural interface complete. Accessing archive, Tier 1. Pain sliced through her skull, brief but searing. Then, images surged forward, not as pictures, but as feelings carved into her mind. A fleet of world ships drifting between galaxies. Humans, not in rags, not in fractured tribes, but in golden armor and silken robes, presiding over peace accords with races the current Earth could not even name. And then the fall. She saw the accord fracture under its own brilliance. Not from war, but from ambition. A device built to rewrite entropy, to cheat death itself. It worked, and then it failed spectacularly. Reality twisted. Stars died. Civilizations collapsed overnight. In desperation, the surviving factions turned to a final measure. The memory severance. Technologies hidden. Histories buried. Minds wiped. Earth, cradle and curse, was locked in isolation, forgotten even by its own. Alara fell to her knees, gasping. You were among the last architects, the ship said. Your genetic echo bears command signatures of the Accord's final council. The cycle was always meant to end with remembrance. Behind her, footsteps rang out. Vale stood in the doorway, face unreadable. He had followed her, though he'd given no order to do so. His presence wasn't hostile, just quiet, contained. So, he said, voice low, it's true. Your people with a fire, and we are only sparks. She met his gaze, still reeling. You evolved from what we left behind. You're the aftershocks of our collapse. Your collapse became our foundation, he said, and now your return might undo it. There was no venom in his tone, just realization. Vale wasn't a tyrant or a zealot. He was protector of order, and this new truth threatened the spine of his empire. If Earth reclaimed its past, Jaron's superiority would erode overnight. I didn't come here to start a war, Alara said quietly. I just wanted to know the truth. Vale stepped further into the chamber, eyes scanning the archive. And what will you do with it now that you have it? She hesitated. The weight of that question pressed into her ribs. She thought of the governments already scrambling to control the activation site, of military leaders thirsting to claim the Arkansas, of scientists eager to dissect it, and politicians keen to own it. I don't know, she admitted, but hiding it again won't make us ready. It'll just keep us asleep. You think your world can handle this? She looked up. No, but I think it can grow into it, if it remembers who it was. Vale looked at the archive one more time, then stepped aside. Then you should see the next layer. With a gesture, he activated a secondary panel. A series of star charts flickered into existence, each marked with a pulsing point of light. Alara's breath caught. There were dozens, maybe hundreds. Other arcs, she whispered. Vale nodded. Buried, dormant, some in neutral space. Some in places now controlled by rival empires. Some transmitting already. So the awakening has begun. Not just here, Vale said. Everywhere. Alara turned to him slowly. Are you going to stop me? Vale was silent for a long moment. Then he shook his head. No. I've spent my life believing your kind were beneath us. Seeing you walk through a forgotten empire as if it were your own temple, I realize now it was. She let the words settle, feeling their gravity. Something ancient had stirred, and she was its key. But she wasn't chosen by divinity. She was chosen by accident, by bloodline, by a history no one had asked for. That didn't absolve her. It demanded something more. You should return to the surface, Vale said. There will be questions. Some from your own kind, many from mine. Will they come in peace? He hesitated. Empires rarely do. Alara rose. The Ark's chamber dimmed behind her, its data preserved but no longer overwhelming. As they exited into the open air, the jungle was no longer untouched. Structures had begun to emerge. Landing pads, spires, antennae pulsing with light. The Ark was no longer just awakening. It was rebuilding. In the distance, a new sound carried on the wind. The whine of human aircraft. Earth had noticed. It was coming for answers. Alara narrowed her eyes. Then let's be ready to give them the right ones. The first helicopter arrived before dawn, a matte black silhouette slicing to the pale blue sky. Behind it came others, jets, drones, and armored convoys, each flying the banners of powerful nations. They came not as explorers, but as claimants. Beneath them, the Amazon was no longer a place of untouched wilderness. It was now a battlefield of history, technology, and fear. And at the center stood Dr. Alara Miles, flanked by a ship that should not exist and an alien who no longer saw her as primitive. The Ark loomed like a sleeping god, partially emerged, partially buried, humming with a quiet readiness. Its signal continued pulsing into the void, awakening echoes in places Earth had never heard of. Alara watched as soldiers disembarked, their faces tight with unease. She recognized their fear, not of her, but of what her existence now represented. One of them approached, a general wrapped in the language of control and caution. He gestured toward the Arkansas. What is this, doctor? A memory, she replied, voice steady. And a warning. He narrowed his eyes. Are we under attack? No, she said. But we could be, if we don't understand what we've woken. Behind her, Vale stood silent. He wore no insignia now, no weapons, only the bare threads of curiosity and doubt. Earth's militaries eyed him warily, unsure if he was an ambassador, a threat, or both. Yet he made no move to intervene. We need to secure the site, the general said. You can't, Alara replied. You can't own it, contain it, or weaponize it. The Ark responds to something deeper than command. It recognizes legacy, not authority. And you're saying you're that legacy? She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped forward and raised her hand toward the Arkansas. The outer plating responded instantly, light cascading across its surface. A stairway unfolded, smooth, seamless, deliberate. Gasps rippled through the human ranks. Some took a step back. Others raised weapons instinctively. I'm not a threat, Ilera said, turning. But the truth is, because it breaks everything we thought we knew. The general hesitated. What exactly are you planning to do? She looked up at the sky, where stars still lingered in the morning haze. Send a message. With that, she ascended the steps, each footfall echoing louder than any gunfire. Vale followed her, and the arc sealed itself behind them like a heartbeat closing. Inside, silence returned, clean, expectant. The command chamber glowed as she approached. The star maps had stabilized now, dozens of points blinking with slow, patient rhythm. Each one was another Arkansas, another memory, another story buried in waiting. Broadcast interface ready, the ship said. Vale stood beside her, arms folded. They'll listen, and they'll panic. I know, she replied, but they need to hear it. She took a breath and stepped forward. The console glowed, the room darkening around her. A transmission sphere rose from the floor. She looked into it, and it looked back. This is Dr. Ilera Miles, speaking on behalf of Earth. She began, to any arc still listening, to any remnant that remembers, we are awake. We were not destroyed. We were silenced. But now we remember. Across the void, signals blinked in response. We do not come to reclaim power. We come to reclaim understanding. If you hear this, know that Earth is no longer asleep. She closed the channel. The silence afterward was full of breathless promise. The arc pulsed once more, then shifted. The structure outside folded tighter, rising slowly into the air. Jumbled debris fell away. Ilera felt her weight shift. The ship was lifting. From below, soldiers shouted. Cameras tracked every movement. The world was watching. What happens now? Vale asked. She turned to him. Now we stop being a secret. Now we find out who else remembers. The arc surged upward, cutting to the sky with silent elegance. Below them, Earth shrank, but its people remained, watching, questioning, bracing for whatever came next. In the distance, far across the void, another arc responded, and it, too, began to rise.